Hello and welcome to MarvelVision, a Marvel Cinematic Universe TV show podcast. We still haven't really figured that intro out. Brought to you by Cinema Sangha. My name is Devin Faraci. I'm one of your two hosts of the show. Joining me as always,
Hello, it's Derek Faraci. How are you, Devin?
Derek, you're so much louder this week.
Yeah, well, I'm in a booming mood. Even this won't make sense to anybody who's listening, but even on on my screen where I can see like my voice modulation, whatever the lines, they're way bigger than they were last week.
Yeah, they're bigger than mine. In fact, I'm going to probably have to mix you down. Actually, usually I'm mixing you up.
See,
but
on mine, yours are still bigger than mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Usually I have to mix you up, but maybe this week I have to mix you down, which will be exciting, a new change of pace. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing great. So, we have been doing a Star Wars TV show podcast called The Bad Batch for about a year now. Yes. We're on episode 45 of the show, and we have had skip weeks, quite a few skip weeks over the past year. So I'm going to say we've been doing it about a year is what my guess is. And we decided to launch a Marvel TV show themed podcast. And I made the executive decision. The Bad Batch is behind a paywall at my Patreon, patreon.com/cinemasanga. And I decided to make this one public. And so we have started putting this show out on the major services. And we put it out. We got it on Stitcher and Spotify. And in 2 days, we got a whopping 30 downloads.
Watch out, Joe Rogan.
Here we go. We're coming for you, buddy. It's nice because we didn't really promote it or anything like that. Like, it wasn't that big a push. And we just kind of did it I just finally got it up on a Saturday afternoon. Like, it wasn't that big a deal. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like I wasn't a lot of work went into it. And it's just nice to sort of see. And it's nice to know the reason why. So here's the true story. I was telling Derek this off the air. The real reason why is because I was talking to our father, and who is not in heaven. And he was complaining that it's a real pain in the ass to listen to our podcast through the Patreon. And so he was like, much easier if you just put it on iTunes. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of work. I don't want to do that work. And then, you know what? I decided, let's do it. Let's do the work. And so we did the work, and now it is available on Stitcher and Spotify. It'll be available, God willing, on iTunes and the rest of the services in the coming days and weeks. It just takes time for them to review it. But I will tell you this, when I was going through and uploading the podcast to all these services, there was some guy who had done a show called MarvelVision.
Yes.
Which I would not mind if somebody had beaten us to the name. It's not the most creative name of all time. But the thing is that I looked at it, and this dude, what he's doing, or with these people, they have another podcast about comic book stuff, and they take their episodes where they review this show, and they just syndicate them out as MarvelVision. It's just the same content.
Yes. Yeah. They it's another show called Comic Club MarvelVision, and then they put out MarvelVision as well.
I mean, very frustrating to me. They're squatting the title. Now, if there had been somebody else with a title that was the same title, I would have said, you know what, hail and farewell. But I feel no, I think I'm going to take it to the mat on this one. So, worst comes to worst, I have some other thoughts on how we can work with the title to make it our own, if that's what has to happen. But right now it's called MarvelVision. I guess we'll find out what happens by the end of this season of WandaVision if it's still called MarvelVision.
I'm just putting it out there. We can still call it Eon Controls Us from Under the Cabinet, under the kitchen cabinet.
Derek has this. We were trying to throw around ideas for podcast names, and every podcast name that Derek came up with was unbelievably deep cut comic book stuff, which not only would not appeal to anybody, was also too long, and thematically had nothing to do with the show that we're actually doing. So
that's not true. Well, I guess it's too long, but the My Brother and His Indestructible Head, I think, is a good title too.
That was a good title. That was a good title that you threw out there. That was a reasonable one. But also just I don't think anybody coming across the titles of podcasts would look at that and have any clue what we're talking about here.
No. And the Eon one is that's an amazingly like the Eon one is the kind of thing where were he still alive, you could bring that up to Mark Grenwald and he'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about, and he wrote it. So
Yeah, it's unbelievably obscure.
yeah.
Although I'm going to tell you something, WandaVision is turning out to be the Marvel property that most speaks to the unbelievably obscure parts of the Marvel universe.
Very true.
So maybe a really unbelievably obscure title was what we needed to go with.
Yeah.
So if you're new to us, because this show is now out from behind the Patreon Iron Curtain, we like to start our shows off with a little bit of a news roundup. And I'm curious, is there any Marvel news that caught your eye this week?
There's two things in Marvel news. One is that Disney Plus announced that on February 12th, there will be a Marvel documentary special called Marvel's Behind the Mask, which I'm guessing, my theory is that this is the week after MarvelVision or WandaVision ends, and maybe they're doing like a buffer week before
February
they start the next
12th?
show. Yeah.
It is definitely not. That's about 3 weeks from now.
No, we're still in January.
Yeah, but I just looked at a calendar for this purpose. We're at the last week of January.
But we've gone through 3 episodes, which means there's 6 episodes left.
Right.
So we'd have 4 episodes in March, 2 episodes in.
Oh, you said March
February.
or February?
February 12th.
You know, February comes before March. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, geez, I'm not thinking properly, am I?
Holy shit! I can't believe.
I was thinking. Yeah, okay, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Holy
I don't know what. Yeah,
I can't believe that you don't know the order of the months.
I know.
Tell me the order of the months.
January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December.
All right, you got it. You got it. Yeah. Holy shit!
Man, woman, TV, camera.
Wow, that's something else.
In my brain, I was thinking March the whole time because I was like, it's got to be after WandaVision's over. They wouldn't put it in the middle of WandaVision. So.
If it was March 12th, I would say yes. It would be the week after WandaVision ends. But if it's February 12th, I would say no.
No, because that would leave not enough time since we have the next episode is 29th, so that's 4, 5.
It's 3 weeks away.
That'd be during episode 6. Yeah. So unless they're doubling up again for some reason,
they might be doubling up. I mean, maybe they want to get us used to the idea of doubling up as these shows move forward. Their slate is full, man. Like we're gonna.
I mean doubling up episodes of WandaVision is what I meant by doubling.
They might do the final 2 episodes as a 1 hour thing, but I can't imagine they would double up much more than that.
Yeah. Well, either way, there's a documentary coming on February 12th, which is before March. This we've made clear.
This year it does come before March.
Yes. And then the other news, this is more comic book news, but I thought this was very interesting. They're releasing a August 1961 omnibus, which is every comic Marvel published in August 1961, the month that Fantastic Four #1 came out. And I find it interesting because of what the titles are, and it shows how much things changed so quickly for Marvel once Fantastic Four came out. Because the titles, I'll give them to you, are Journey into Mystery, numbers 73 and 74, Kathy, number 13, Life with Millie, 13, Patsy Walker, 97, Amazing Adventures 6, Fantastic Four #1, Kid Cult Outlaw 101, Linda Carter, Student Nurse, number 2, Millie the Model, number 105, Strange Tales 90, Tales of Suspense 23, Tales to Astonish 25, Gunsmoke Western 67, Love Romances 96, Teenage Romance 84, Amazing Adult Fantasy 7, Patsy and Hetty 79, Rawhide Kid 25. I think it's interesting.
What's really interesting is how many of those titles contain characters who became part of the Marvel Universe.
How many of those titles contain characters that became part of the Marvel Universe, and how many of those titles are female-oriented? I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, romance comics.
I mean, Millie has 2 titles. Millie has 2 comics. That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, romance comics, where it was at. Jack Kirby did a lot of really good romance comics.
Well, Jack Kirby and Joe Sinnott created the romance comics.
They sure did. So that's pretty interesting. It would be kind of wild if they did omnibuses like that for the entire history of Marvel.
Like just each month, that would be pretty
That'd be
wild.
wild, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
It would get out of
probably.
hand pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah. After like the first year of doing it, you'd be like, "Whoa,
You get out of
this is
hand real
this is a
fast.
lot of space. Where am I going to put 87 months worth of omnibuses?" It'd be pretty wild.
I wish that they
Yeah.
I wish that they would list comics that way on the Marvel app.
The Marvel app, it's very hard to find stuff. I think I
It would
find
be
it very
really
difficult to
cool
find
if I
stuff.
could go look at what came out in July of 1967.
Yes, yeah, yeah. The
That'd be
DC app, I
super
think,
cool.
does it better, but not much better. But theirs is a little cleaner. But like the Marvel one,
Well,
both of them have a problem of
the DC app is cleaner because they got rid of everything.
yeah. Well, now it's just the comics.
They emptied the whole
But
fucking thing out. It's just you're like echo, echo, hello,
no,
hello.
it's all that's not true. They actually just added loads of stuff this week
I know,
because
but they
there's
got
so
rid of
many
all their
things.
cartoons. They're all their cartoons and movies and TV shows, which is why people
Yeah.
originally got the DC Universe app.
Well, I got it for the comics,
No,
so
I know
I'm
you
very
got it for the
excited
right
that they
reason.
started adding. They've started adding Vertigo and stuff, so I'm very excited by that. But I would like it, although I'm saying this without ever actually checking. I imagine the Marvel Comics app does not have, Linda Carter student nurse or like Gunsmoke Western. Like I'd love to check out those and see what they were like, because I imagine there's not many reprints of them out there.
That's interesting. I do wonder if they do have that because did they bother digitizing it? I guess if they're putting out the omnibus, they're probably digitizing that stuff anyway as part of the process.
Yes, yeah. I would probably. I mean, most likely, right? That's how it works these days. So,
They have Millie the model. They don't have Linda.
do
They
they?
only
Okay.
and they they have Millie the model number 100, which I'm not sure is actually a real comic.
Right here, it got up to issue. I think it was 105. I said, where did Millie the model go? Where'd it go? Oh, the 105. Yeah, Millie model
Oh,
105
this
in
is
August
Millie.
1961.
They have
So
Millie. They have Millie 100, and they
okay.
have modeling with Millie number 44. It's kind of weird. Those are the two comics they have. I'm not really sure why they have them.
That's definitely one thing with both Marvel and DC is the weird skips in things, and it's like, what are you doing? Catch up! Like, what's happening here? Like, we discussed recently, not too long ago. There's an issue of Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man that I greatly love. I believe it's issue 118, and on the Marvel app, it goes from like 117 to 124. And it's like, what's going on? Why'd you skip those other issues? And I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is. I'm sure there is a reason. I just don't know what it could be. But
Well, I guess
and DC does the same thing. Like
right.
DC, there's literally just one issue of the Jay Garrick Flash series. And it's like, why? Why are you doing this? Like, why do that? Why just have that one? Keep going. Put up more. And Superman. There's only 129 issues of Superman up there.
Right.
The original Superman book, and it's like, come on, give it more. So I don't read them because I barely ever touch these apps. But
there was a moment I thought we were going to have news that Black Widow was getting moved again or coming to Disney Plus.
Yeah, there were rumors that it's getting pushed back, and I almost brought that up as news, and I was like, "But it's just rumors, so there's nothing there at this point."
I think it's worth discussing because obviously Disney did a whole thing where they pushed back a whole bunch of Fox stuff, and they shoved it all back to like next year. And Black Widow, it seems like it's unlikely that it's going to hit the date. It just doesn't make sense to me. The idea that any big movie is like legitimately trying to open in theaters this year just doesn't make any sense to me.
What's the current date for Black Widow?
Oh God, I have no idea. Is it in May now? Hold on, you can hear me typing as I type in Black Widow release date. I mean, they moved it 100 times. It's May 7th now. There's just no way. Okay. I mean, there's just no chance.
Which I believe that's also what the original release date was, just a year later.
It was May 2020. It might have been March 2020, actually. But I just don't believe it's going to happen. And it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that Disney doesn't know. There was an interesting interview with Kevin Feige where they asked him about it, and he was like, I don't know, because that's above his pay grade. Like those decisions he does not make. And, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, it just doesn't seem likely to me that we're going to see any big movies in theaters this year before the end of the year. I mean, Godzilla's going to show up in Godzilla versus Kong is showing up in theaters, but that's really an HBO Max play.
Well, I mean, that's a definitive sign that you have faith in your movies when you move it up during the pandemic.
Right.
Like let's get it out sooner before people start getting inoculated and then can go to the theaters, so we can still blame it on the pandemic. That's how I feel about that one.
That one though, that was all part of that whole deal where Warner Brothers was going to put all of their movies only on streaming, and then everybody got mad at them, and so they started giving release dates to some of them as well. And that's part of that. That's just sort of like an offhanded, like, okay, fine, you want a fucking release date, Legendary, we'll give you a release date. That doesn't feel real to me.
And it's also a thing. I mean, the movie exists because they started making it before the last Godzilla came out. And I'm sure if they'd waited till after the last Godzilla, they probably wouldn't have made the movie, because the last Godzilla didn't do all that great. You know.
Well, it's kind of wild because none of those movies done that great. Like, none of them has been like the kind of intense blockbuster that you would expect there now to be a fourth film that ties in these two franchises. It's kind of weird.
Yes. Yeah. Although, as somebody pointed out today to me, that there have been 5 Underworld movies, and it's like, who knew? Like, who knew they just started making those?
Those don't cost as much.
Yeah, they don't. They cost, like, they're sub $100 million budgets, aren't they? I think
something like that. I mean, these are very expensive movies. This is very interesting. I like them. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is not me saying they shouldn't make these Godzilla or King Kong movies. I like Kong Skull Island a whole lot. But like, none of these movies have been like out of the park blockbusters that you would expect them to have made 4 of them with a crossover. They're putting, this one's going to have Mecha Godzilla in it.
Yes. And Kong's got an axe, which that
Kong's got an axe. It's got Mecha Godzilla. There's all kinds of shit that they're building out the mythology, and it's like nobody cares. Like, it's really weird. It's very strange. Although everybody's really excited about the trailer today, but whether or not
everybody was really excited. Twitter is the worst place to figure out how excited people are about things, because if you had gone back when the last Godzilla was coming out, Twitter was like, "This is going to be the greatest thing of all time. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait." And then it did fine. Like, it was like, oh, it did okay. Like, it didn't blow the doors off. It wasn't a $1 billion thing. It did, it wasn't huge, like what I think you would have thought looking at Twitter.
Right. And that's the thing. These movies need to be huge. That's the whole premise. The premise is that they're huge. They're not making these movies to break even or anything like that. They're making these movies to really tear the fucking roof off and make $1 billion. And I don't think any of them have come even close. I mean, Godzilla King of the Monsters box office global $386 million, which is not great.
Oof. I think that's the lowest of the previous 3, though. Like, I think King Kong, or whatever, Kong Island, whatever, I think that broke 500.
First Godzilla made 529. But even 500 is it's good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but like, they're making these movies to make $1 billion. That's the bar. Once upon a time it was like 300 million
on them.
Yeah. Right, exactly. But anyway, what? Like, I'm not here to shit talk these movies. I like these movies. But the point I'm making here,
Godzilla Vision.
The point I'm making here is that I do not believe that Black Widow is coming out in May. So
neither do I. I don't think James Bond is coming out in October or November, whenever.
That's the thing. I think even that's tight. We might have enough vaccine running around to make theaters more safe, but I suspect that people are going to not feel comfortable, man.
Yeah, I agree. Well, especially, the day that they announced the move of James Bond was the same day that Dr. Fauci goes out there and he's like, things will start getting back to normal around the fall if things go well. Like, if we hit 85% of people getting the vaccine around the fall, things will start to get back to normal. It's like, first off, we're not going to hit 85% of people getting the vaccine because a huge portion of this country doesn't even think that the virus is real. So you run into that problem. And then, getting back to normal is not, let's all go to the theater, I don't think.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
All right. You got any jokes?
I also did read that 19 people got coronavirus after going to a birthday party for a cat. So who knows?
Is that one of the jokes?
No, that is not. That's true. That's an actual news story. Here are the jokes. Let's see.
Where are the jokes?
I'm still I got to get back to where I was. Here we go. That one we did. That one we did.
Yeah, if you're new to this, by the way, also we also have a tradition of telling jokes from a joke book that is written for the universe that our podcast is about.
Yes.
So on the Bad
Although,
Batch,
as you'll
we have a
see,
Star Wars joke book.
This is the official Spider-Man Presents Marvel joke book, although many of the jokes have nothing to do with Marvel. They're just jokes. So it's kind of weird. What does a superhero put in their drink?
What is a superhero? Ice.
Just ice.
Just ice. That's good. Justice. Just ice. That's good.
Why did the baby cookie cry?
Why did the baby cookie cry?
Yes.
Why?
Because its mom was away for so long.
Wow, that's got nothing to do with Marvel. There's not even the most tenuous of all possible connections to the Marvel Universe.
Well, you might remember, I thought about this the other day. You might remember last week we did the joke, what do you call Snowman's parents? And it was Mom and Popsicle. Why is that not Iceman? What do you call Iceman's parents?
That's a great... Yeah.
But there you go.
That's a good point.
Yeah. What kind of songs are balloons afraid of?
What kind of songs are balloons afraid? Something about needle or something. What is it?
Way too hard. Pop songs.
Pop songs. That's pretty good. I feel like there's got to be a Marvel character that we could put that into, though. I really do feel like that.
Probably.
We sat down and thought about it for a minute. But anyway, we're not writing the joke book for them. Let's do one more and then let's get to the episode.
Okay, here's one that actually connects to Marvel. What is Spider-Man's favorite kind of rice?
Is it Uncle Ben?
No, that would have been fantastic. No, sticky rice.
Sticky rice. That makes a lot of sense. Sense. All right. Are you ready to get on to episode 3 of WandaVision?
Yes, I am.
Let's do it. All right. It is, I guess, season 1. I'm not sure if there's going to be another season. It's WandaVision episode 3 called Now in Color. They went back and they gave the first 2 episodes titles, which they didn't originally have.
I saw that. It was live in front of a studio audience, right? And then...
Don't touch that dial.
The second one is Don't Touch That Dial is the second one.
Don't touch that dial. And now it's Now in Color. And we have forwarded... It's the next day from the previous events, but we have forwarded a whole decade into the 70s, and we're hitting like a real Brady Bunch thing here. The opening theme song has like deep Partridge Family feeling to me.
Very Partridge Family. I agree. Very Partridge Family. And just real quick, in the previous Leon, just that we got to see for sure, the beekeeper has the sword logo on his back. So I guess he's not AIM. And also because somebody asked me on Twitter, Vision does have fingernails. So that's also cleared up. And I checked in. If you don't listen to the Bad Batch podcast, there's an ongoing thing about who has fingernails in Star Wars that I'm very interested in.
Who has fingernails in animated Star Wars, particularly? He's deeply interested in the animated characters' presence of their fingernails.
Because some of them do and some of them don't. That's weird. That's a weird choice, I think. But Vision does, and I also checked in Age of Ultron. He has fingernails as well. So
you're doing the deep research.
Yep.
I
was asked online, so I had to find out.
I was on the set of Civil War, and I stood in line behind Paul Bettany while at Craft Services, and he had his he had like a robe on, and then he had his whole Vision makeup, and he had dots on top of the Vision makeup, and he had a backpack on.
What? No.
He had a backpack on. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Was he getting ready to leave? Was he just grabbing some food and leaving?
I don't think so. They were coming back to do more shooting. I was on set for the day where they do the big running towards each other scene at the airport. I was on set for that. Yeah. And which was happened in a parking lot in Atlanta, by the way, in case you were curious what that airport looked like. It was a parking lot in Atlanta. And
in the movie, it looked like a parking lot in Atlanta. So.
But I mean, there's no. It's just a green screen on a parking lot. It wasn't even like there's no buildings there. There was nothing. It was just.
Really? There's no buildings. Wow.
No, there's nothing. Idea. They were just running in front of a green screen the whole time.
That's crazy.
They had like some trucks and shit there, but they were running in front of a green screen.
It's so funny. I watched Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2.
You watched it last night.
And Did you? There you go. It's kind of heartbreaking to watch it and be like, how come superhero movies don't look like this? Like,
Yeah.
it's so filled with like just good action filming and like interesting camera work, and it's like, man, how come in Civil War they're just fighting in a parking lot? Like, mix it up, get crazy with it.
Yeah, well, one
So
of the things
weird.
that's really nice that this show is leading into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, directed by Mr. Sam Raimi.
Yes, Mr. Sam Raimi. And I will say the previous Doctor Strange, I think, is one of the best looking Marvel movies. I love the style of that film.
I mean, I think they're getting better looking as they go. I mean, part of it is they're responding to the aesthetic of the time. So, like Civil War and Winter Soldier, the Russos are making movies that are really responding to sort of like the flat colored action movies of the time. You know what I mean? Like they're like in a
Yeah.
big Michael Bay, Paul Greengrass space in those movies, and it's about the intensity and the visceral aspect of it. I think that's a mistake in Civil War in some parts because, like you say, the thing about I love the airport sequence, but they're also up against the wall because they want to have a big action sequence where they can blow things up, but they don't want to have they don't want to make it too violent because the whole fucking movie's about arguing about blowing things up.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to
So
kind of be in the middle of nowhere,
you don't want to run into the Man of Steel problem, where
right?
it's like, yeah, and I get that. I definitely understand that, but it's just, it's just an empty parking lot, and it's like, oh, this is kind of what a bummer. Like it'd be like, at least put in some color, like make like something. Everything's
Well,
great.
one of the nice things about WandaVision is, and especially this episode, is plenty of color. This is a very colorful episode, from
This
the
is
costumes to the sets and everything. And the sets had that beautiful 70s look. The opening credits are very colorful.
yes,
And there's a repeat of a hexagon pattern in the opening credits. We saw a hexagon in the second episode opening credits when they come flying out of the moon in the beginning. Is a
yep.
hexagon of stars around it.
Huh.
I'm not sure if this is Infinity Stone references or what. It's interesting.
I didn't think about that. So that is interesting.
Yeah, so there's a hexagon thing. Obviously, beehives have hexagons in them, and we saw a beekeeper last episode. So
Yeah.
who knows what all of this means? But we open up in this new 70s full color world, very
Yes.
rich. The
Beautiful.
house has changed. The house has
Beautiful.
totally changed, which I love. It's a totally
Yeah.
different house. I mean, like the basics of it are the same. Like the door and the stairs are in the same place. You know what I mean? But like it's totally redesigned. And Wanda's quite
Yeah,
pregnant.
they have like really nice stained glass windows, like
Yeah.
up high, that I really liked. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the look of the set. Yeah, and
Um,
Wanda's very pregnant. She is apparently 4 months pregnant at the opening.
and Dr. Nielsen is there, and he is examining her. And I don't know who Dr. Nielsen is. I don't know if this is a Marvel character or if just the reference is just to Nielsen ratings.
I didn't look him up. I didn't check on that, and I should have.
I don't think there is a guy. I did a little bit of research. I didn't find anything.
Okay.
So I don't think there is a Dr. Nielsen. I think it might just be a Nielsen ratings thing. Like honestly, just like a winky Nielsen ratings thing.
Yeah.
So she is very pregnant, and Vision is freaking out because he's fully aware that she was not pregnant yesterday. And
Yes.
what I love is they play it in sitcom terms, where he's like the flustered dad.
Yes, very much. Yeah, yeah. Where it's like, he's like 4 months along? Is that right? And she nods yes. He nods no.
Right.
And then she looks and he nods yes. And when he goes through all the different fruits that the baby sizes are, and he's like, "What would the size be for 12 hours?" Very fun.
And so the Vision walks the doctor outside and is like, "Can you keep this a secret? Like, we want to keep this within the family." And the doctor, who's on his way to a vacation in Bermuda, is like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Mum's the word." And as the doctor takes off, he sees the Vision sees Herman.
Which,
What was that?
Bermuda's a purposeful choice, right?
Why?
Like Bermuda Triangle.
Maybe I feel like Bermuda's like a pretty 70s destination.
I get probably, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it feels like a pretty 70s destination. So like there's just something like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's like a really East Coasty kind of, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe could be. But as the doctor takes off, Vision notices that Herb, the neighbor, is doing like some like yard work, and he's got like a hedge trimmer, and he has taken the hedge trimmer and he has cut through the hedge, and he is now cutting through the yellow brick fence that separates
Yes.
their properties. And it's also
Yes.
worth noting, by the way, the last episode when they went outside, they were on location, and this episode when they go outside, they're on a stage.
It's a set. Yes, you can see it's a matte painting behind Herb.
It's not even a matte painting. It is just a
very bad
translate. It's
flat,
just a big flat. That's all that it is. It's not a matte.
Yeah.
It's just a flat, and it's cheap. It's like shitty looking. I loved it. I
Yeah.
love that they get that difference in the eras. That like in the '60s they would go out onto the lot and shoot, but by the time they got to the '70s, they're just like, fuck it, just build a yard.
You know what I really do appreciate? Because they do all that. They're very careful and attentive to how everything looks, but they're also not using camera filters to make things look more 70s, and I really appreciate that.
Right.
Because that would look really goofy, I think, if they try to pull that kind of thing off.
I do wish that they had the budget and the ambition to shoot every episode on a different camera rig. Like if they shot them on the correct camera rigs for each episode.
That would be insane. Era. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
I'd fucking
That'd
love
be
that.
so much work.
Yeah, it'd be very expensive.
Now, I did see, this is not my theory, this I read on Twitter, is that Herb is cutting through orange brick, and Herb is the name of Herbie from the Fantastic Four. So there's a question of like, is that an android? Is Herb, and plus he's all weird. He seems to have like shorted out almost as he's cutting through the brick. Is Herb an android of some sort who is cutting through the thing, so to speak?
It's an interesting question, and it speaks to the nature of what Westview is. And I guess we'll talk about that at the end of the episode, because there's the big reveal about Westview at the very end of the episode.
Yes.
So inside the house, things are getting a little bit crazy, because when Vision goes back into the house, she is like now 6 months pregnant. And on top of that, Wanda appears to be losing control of her powers. They go into the baby's room, and there's a mobile of butterflies. And when she looks at it, she turns the mobile into real butterflies.
No, she says that her stomach feels all aflutter.
And they come to life. Yeah. So it's clear. Like, yeah, there's stuff happening that's not in her control. And then they go into the kitchen and things begin freaking out. The appliances begin freaking out. Things, start really going crazy, and then they lose power. And we see that everybody gets lost power. And we have a really good little sitcom cutaway that has Phil, the mustache guy, sitting and reading his newspaper, and his wife, Dottie, Anya from Buffy, comes in and says, "Did these earrings make me look fat?" And
light goes out.
And like outside, he goes,
he goes, "Oh, thank God."
So did you notice the newspaper headline?
2 fire hydrants added to Westfield.
But the thing is that the way that the paper is folded, it just says 2 fire hydra.
Yes.
It's very intriguing.
I also spent a lot of time looking at the back of the paper where there's like an ad and being like, "What is that something?" And I couldn't read anything it said.
This is how you're turning. This is how you like become an obsessive, like pausing everything and going frame by frame obsessively.
Oh, I did it too. When they were in the baby's room, I looked up the paint cans, because the paint cans had a name on it, and that's the set designer. It's just the name of the set designer. Not just. I mean, the guy deserves a lot of credit. It's the set designer of the show. It's his name on the paint.
That's fun. That's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So things are going truly nuts, and is this? Wait, my notes are bad. Is this when this is not when her water breaks? No.
Well, she's having contractions. Braxton Briggs, I forgot what they're called.
Braxton Hicks contractions, right? And then after the whole block goes out, she wonders, does everybody in this town know that it was me? And this starts Vision actually thinking about this question, like, what does everybody in town know? And then he starts realizing everything is super fucking weird. And he begins talking to her about how weird things have been the last 2 episodes. And then she looks up at him, and then there's like a bang, not even rewind, just like a bang, just an edit.
I honestly thought something happened to to the show. Like, I was like, oh, freaking streaming. God damn it. I got tricked.
Same here, and it's a good moment. It really works really well, and he has returned to one, and then he begins that whole thing again. Except this time he is not questioning the reality or the weirdness that's going on, and she gets to have her little bit of a happy moment.
Yes,
but that's when she then Her water breaks,
That's when
right?
her water breaks.
And
Yes.
literally, like, water
Yeah.
starts flowing out of the
It
ceiling.
starts raining. Yeah, it starts raining in the house. Is how we know her water is broken. And that's when it goes to commercial.
Yes.
And we see it's for Hydra Soak, which is Calgon. Right? At the end, it's a Calgon commercial
Well,
for
it's
Hydra
interesting,
Soak.
right? So, like, it's like the premise, the commercials have changed so that the idea here is that we see the cultural change, which is now the commercials are like about like you're a harried housewife, you're trying to be a
Yeah.
modern woman, like what we can take you away to your own world, create your own
Yes.
world, it says.
Yes. Yeah. Which I theirs is probably better than what I would have liked to have done. Like when the episode started, and I was like, "Oh, there's going to be a commercial break." It would be amazing if there was a commercial break for the Incredible Hulk, since the Incredible Hulk had a show in the '70s.
Right.
I think that would have been fun. But theirs is probably much more connected to the actual show.
Yeah, and it's
So
the same
better.
woman, by the way, and the voiceover is the man from the previous two commercials. It's been the same people in every single commercial.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's been the same two people in every single commercial. So this is an interesting question of who these people are, what their relationship to Wanda is. The first two commercials were quite clearly her personal history.
Her past, yes, yeah.
Now this
So,
one
but the first one was the toaster,
with
which
Stark,
was the bomb, with the
right?
Stark bomb, and the second one was
The Strucker watch
Hydra.
with
Oh, it was the
Strucker,
Strucker watch and it had the Hydra logo on it. Yeah, so it's connected to her getting powers.
but
And then this is go to your own world, which would suggest she's created her own world, right?
and it's Unleash the Inner Goddess, which is a really interesting turn of phrase here, and I'm very curious what it means. It doesn't really ring a lot of bells in terms of canonical Vision and Scarlet Witch stuff, so I'm a little bit curious. Although to be very honest, I'm going to admit my weakness here. It is really hard to know all of Scarlet Witch's canonical history because she is
Yeah,
probably the most retcon character in Marvel Comics.
Vision's not far behind.
I mean, Vision has like a regular number of retcons. I feel like Wanda has been retconned so fundamentally, and for the last 30 years has been portrayed mostly in weird, broken ways that it's
Yeah.
super hard to be sure what is real and what, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot. We're gonna get to this when we introduce the kids because that's fucking history is beyond.
Oof. Oof.
Um,
Oof.
so while Vision runs off to get Dr. Nielsen, Geraldine shows up, and we have this whole comedy bit where Wanda's trying to hide her pregnancy, and they do a really good meta bit here, which is that Wanda puts on a big jacket to hide her pregnancy, which is what actors do in sitcoms and stuff when they're pregnant. You don't want anybody to know, and then she puts
They always hide it in different ways.
the jacket keeps changing, and then she's putting fruit in front of her stomach, which is 100% the kind of thing again that they do in sitcoms. They'll have characters standing behind things to hide that big belly because the character isn't pregnant, the actor is, and it's his whole thing. But what happens is that as Geraldine, like, who is just doing like her sitcom thing, she has no clue what's going on. She's carrying on her sitcom way. Wanda manifests a stork into the middle of the living room.
Yes.
And then
she manifests it before Geraldine shows up because we hear it before the door.
Right.
But now it comes out and it's walking around and she's again very sitcom-y. I can't let Geraldine see the stork. So they're playing with that setup, of like Geraldine's telling a story about what she did at work, and Wanda is trying to act like she's paying attention while also trying to keep like she's trying to use magic to get rid of the stork, and that's not working. And she throws an orange at it to make it run away at one point. And then what I loved is when the stork notices that Geraldine is wearing pants that have fish on them.
Yeah.
And the stork goes for the fish.
So this is what's really interesting to me. So there's a couple of things interesting in this sequence, which is, this is the comedy stuff. It's the standard comedy beats, very similar to what we had in episode 1, where Vision is trying to keep the guests from seeing what's happening in the kitchen. This is your standard sitcom thing. You know what I mean? Like you could see the Brady kids, they have some kind of animal in the house they're trying to make sure their parents don't see. Like you can 100% recognize this comedy beat. But what's happening on a meta level I thought was really interesting, because Geraldine's telling a story about her job at the ad agency.
Yes.
And Teyonah Parris, who plays her, played Dawn on Mad Men.
Oh yeah.
And I just feel like that's not a mistake or an accident. That's just not an accident. That feels like a meta wink. That really feels like a meta wink. And a show that's super fucking meta. Like,
I'm trying to remember what she said her boss's name was.
his name is Haddix. And so there is no Haddix character that I can think of in Marvel, but I wonder if the Haddix actually means the pants. Because I think
Okay.
there's a lot of dream logic happening in this episode, right? And
Haddock is a fish as well, isn't
Haddock
he?
is a fish. That's why it's the pants. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It relates to the pants, as opposed to anything within Marvel. But so she's telling the story, and then I was wondering the story that she's telling about this breakfast cereal with marshmallow moon men and gravity O's. You know, we see later on that she has the sword symbol around her neck. Sword is the extraterrestrial version of Shield. Like it's about taking care of, problems from out of this earth.
Space problems.
Is that like what is that a thing that she's talking about here?
Possible
Marshmallow Moon Man?
We get some very interesting info on Geraldine in this episode. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
as it moves forward,
it is definitely a weird thing. And what happens then is that the stork makes noise, and Geraldine snaps out of it.
Yes, she breaks character, which the actress
Teyonah Parris. Dawn from Mad Men.
Say it one more time. No, I want to say Teyonah Parris.
I'm not sure I'm saying it correctly, but I'm probably closer.
These actors deserve their credit because she does an amazing job in this episode of playing very like your basic 70s black character on a sitcom,
right?
And then breaking out of it and like then sliding back in. And she does that a couple of times throughout the episode. I was like, really fantastic work.
They're all really good at it. Everybody's really good at playing these sitcom bits. Even the Doctor, who's like only in a couple of scenes, like he does some really great sitcom pratfall bits.
Yes,
but like it feels
and
like
his wife is great too.
His wife is great too. But yeah, I mean, like Teyonah Parris here, she's so terrific in the way that she is playing the sassy black neighbor, and then when she breaks and when she snaps out of it because of the noise, it's like really unsettling. It's excellent.
It's very unsettling.
It's not comedic. It's really creepy.
No, it's very creepy.
But then she discovers that Wanda's pregnant. They figured out, and the baby's coming right now. And so Vision comes running back with Dr. Nielsen. He picks up Dr. Nielsen, who's trying to fix his car, and Vision gets back after the baby has been born. Geraldine helps deliver the baby.
Well, everything starts going crazy in the house as well. And Geraldine's like, I'm sure there's a perfectly rational explanation for this, or logical explanation for all this stuff. And I like that because it's very sitcom-y,
right?
But also at the same time being like, she recognizes that this is not normal. That things are happening that should not be happening.
Right.
And I think that works very well. Yeah.
And she has the baby. Vision shows up. He's like, I missed it. But Dr. Nielsen's there and says, oh, she'd make a great nurse, Geraldine. And they're, earlier in the episode,
Geraldine takes the doctor into the kitchen.
But earlier in the episode, Vision and Scarlet Witch had been arguing about what to name the child, and Vision had
Tommy or Billy.
Billy for William Shakespeare, and Tommy as sort of a regular all-American name. And this baby is there, and Vision says, "Oh, Tommy's such a beautiful baby." And Scarlet Witch is like, "Oh wow, we're gonna name him Tommy." He's like, "Of course." And it's a very sweet moment. Yep. And then, bang! It turns out Wanda's having twins, which anybody who's read the comics will not be surprised by, because in the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, she did in fact have twins, whose names were Tommy and Billy.
Yes.
And
also, I don't know if you noticed, when Tommy is born first, they have Tommy there, and she's holding him. Tommy his eyes are slightly glowing blue, just like Vision's do.
I did not notice that.
I know. I thought that was a really nice touch. Like there's a slight glow to it, like how Vision's eyes are. I was like, oh, that's wow. Really, I like that.
So it's worth noting here. So they have these two kids. They were named Tommy and Billy. These are the names of the kids that Scarlet Witch had in the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, 12-issue maxi series in the middle of the 80s. It's really worth mentioning. I'm going to only really just surface this because this is so fucking complicated that
this is 7 episodes of a podcast to get through these two kids.
It's unreal. She has these two kids. Obviously, she could not have had these two kids because the Vision is a synthezoid. So it became later on. It was revealed that these two kids actually were. She created them with her reality bending hex powers.
I think it was in the miniseries. It was revealed that it was Mephisto created them.
I thought it was in West Coast Avengers.
I thought it was that in the because I have not read the miniseries probably since it came out. Like, I've not read through much of the stuff in a very long time, but I believe in the miniseries it's revealed that Mephisto created them, or filled them with, put demon souls in them, and it's like, oh, these kids, the reason that you were able to have children is because I put demon souls in there and blah blah blah, and then they get rid of the demon souls, but they keep the kids, and then later it's revealed, oh no, those kids aren't even real; they're figments of Wanda's imagination that she created with her powers, because Vision has, like, he's got no penis, he's a robot, so you run into
he has
that
a
issue.
penis. He definitely has penis.
I guess. I guess he can transform, right? He can change himself if he wants.
Well,
He's
the
he has
Vision
no
is
biological sequences to him, though.
here.
But
No, he definitely does, because the Vision has, even though in the show they had that cartoon of him on the inside being like mechanical, the Vision is a synthetic man. It means he's a man, though. He has tissue. He has all these things. They're just synthetic.
but he doesn't need to eat. He's powered by the solar gem.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I mean, like,
like,
what I'm saying, though, he has internal stuff going on. Like, he doesn't just have like a metal frame and like wires. He's a synthetic man. He's not like, I don't mean that like in a metaphorical way. He's a synthetic man. He has got the parts.
see, I've always read it as like he's a synthetic man. Like, he looks human.
No, he's not. He's a synthezoid. It's a totally different kind of thing. It's not an android, and it's
No. I'm saying like his skin is made out of carbon fiber, but it's made to look human, and like he's made out of synthetic materials, which would mean he does not have any DNA, any actual biological pieces to him, is what I'm saying.
He
doesn't have lungs, right?
He does. He has everything.
But he doesn't breathe.
Right. But he has these things. Here's the thing. So when the Vision was created in the comics originally, he was just like an android. It was like unclear. It was 68 or whatever it was, and they didn't.
He was made out of the first Human Torch, right?
But that's later on. That's the retcon. The retcon. That's a way later retcon. That is a John Byrne West Coast Avengers retcon. But the thing is, the first Human Torch, he's superhuman. Like, not superhuman, but like he's superhuman looking. He is not robotic looking at all. He looks like just a guy, because he is a synthetic man. He has every element of the human body. It's just, it's all synthetic. It's made up of a thing called Horton cells. It's a synthetic organic structure. But he has everything. Every muscle, every organ, he has them.
Okay.
And so the Vision is his body tuned up. So he has all those things. The Vision has not just a penis, he has testicles, and in that testicles, he creates sperm.
Horton's got problems. That's all there is to that. Like, that's a weird thing to focus on.
Well, that's,
I'm going to make a guy that bursts in the flames.
Well, he wanted to make a whole human. It was an accident. The flame thing was an accident.
The flames is not supposed to happen.
Right,
yeah.
And that's at the World's Fair, and there's a reference to that in Captain America: The First Avenger. We do see the first Human Torch in a tube in the Captain America: The First Avenger. Jim Hammond is that guy's name. Was that version of him? But anyway, so the Vision has all these parts. So I think in Vision and Scarlet Witch, I think the premise was that he could just do it.
Okay.
Anyway, eventually, this dude, Master Pandemonium, came around. He absorbed the souls of the children. It's this whole fucking thing. It's this endless. There's an amazing cover where he has the children as the extensions of his arms. It's a fucking wild cover.
And then they were killed off, basically.
They were written right out. They were just like written. It was just like writing them out. Like, I think Byrne just got rid of them. He was like, "This is terrible. I don't like this. I'm just getting rid of it." But
it was she went full insane. It was revealed that they weren't real. She became evil for a while. They fixed her. She went off to an asylum for a little bit. She came back as a hero. And then in Young Avengers, they came back.
Yeah, it's revealed that a character named Billy Kaplan, known as Wiccan as his superhero name, is actually one of the two twins. The other one is this guy Speed, who does nothing. He has never done a damn thing, as far as I know. He was at Billy's wedding. That's the most I've seen him do. And Wiccan,
I know I saw him in a costume, so he's done something else.
Yeah, he's got a superhero name. His name is Speed. I mean, like, he definitely has done stuff, but like, he's never done like Billy Kaplan's like a pretty major character. But here's the thing: I don't even understand how this works because Billy Kaplan is not her son reborn. He is the reincarnation of her son. But
Yes.
I still don't understand how it works because I don't even know if the Scarlet Witch is a mutant anymore. Nobody knows where Billy's powers come from. Nobody understands how they work. He has immense powers like Scarlet Witch. They get activated by the Scarlet Witch, but it's really none of it's clear. If he's a reincarnation, he isn't a resurrection.
Yes, yeah.
So it's very complicated.
Yes,
he's also really old.
Yeah, his age doesn't fit with like the idea that everything in Marvel has happened in the last 10 years, and he's like 17.
He's like, I think he's older than that now. He's married now. Yeah. He is one of
very confusing.
He is one of the first out gay superheroes. He married a character named Hulkling, who it turns out is half Kree, half Skrull, and thus is a shapeshifter. And Billy Kaplan has powers of reality bending and all this stuff. The thing the main point here, there's no way that this whole story is going to end up in the MCU, but the main point here is that introducing Billy the baby here, with the idea that in sitcoms, it is very common for characters to grow up, for children to grow up in between seasons.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
We may end up with a teenage Billy Kaplan at the end of the series.
And I mean, I'll guarantee you next episode, we end up with one who's at least 5 or 6.
Right. He's going to be a toddler, right? I mean, like, so then the premise might be that we might be beginning to introduce the Young Avengers.
Well, they've already announced that America Chavez is going to be in
Doctor Strange.
In Doctor Strange, right?
So that's she's a member of the team.
Avengers character.
There's going to be Secret Invasion, which is going to be about a Skrull infestation.
And, what's her name in Hawkeye?
Right, Kate Bishop's going to be in Hawkeye.
Kate Bishop, and I think she's on Young Avengers, isn't she? There was an Archer on there. I can't remember if it was her or not.
Well, you know who else is in the Young Avengers is Cassie Lang, the daughter of Scott Lang. Daughter.
Or daughter. Yeah. What? Son. Jesus, Derek. March, February. What's going on?
And the other main character in the Young Avengers is a character named Iron Lad.
Yep.
Who it turns out
Kang
the Conqueror.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very complicated, guys. If you're not readers of these comics, I apologize. This is unbelievably difficult, but.
And there's also the son of the the grandson of the actual first Captain America.
Right.
Which is I forgot the character's name.
Superhero name?
Father's name. His superhero name, I think, is like Amerikid or something like that. I can't
Patriot.
remember. Patriot, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Patriot.
And then and he's a black kid, and they did a story in the early 2000s called Truth, I think it was called.
It's revealed that the super soldier serum was first tested on black soldiers. Bringing the Marvel Universe a little bit more in line with some of the true atrocities of American history.
Yeah.
It's a really good storyline. It's like a 4-issue like prestige miniseries.
Yeah, it was a fantastic story. It was a wonderful story.
So it seems likely to me that I think that we're going to get a Wiccan out of this storyline.
I would not be surprised. I mean, they're definitely setting up the next generation of heroes because we also got Kamala Khan coming. We've already got Peter Parker will probably be their leader of this new Young Avengers kind of thing, And
I wouldn't count on that. But
that kind of thing. Well, yeah, that's true. Well, maybe Miles Morales. I don't know if they get Miles or not.
I don't think they'll have Miles either. I think they won't have any Spider stuff. I think that they're going to probably shuffle him off in the third movie, which is clearly a multiverse movie. I think they're going to shuffle him off.
I actually came up with a theory the other day. I think it's a Clone Saga movie. That's my theory.
I mean, that would make sense, except for the fact that Alfred Molina is coming back, and it's going to be.
But we've already got what's his name back as J. Jonah Jameson. So you bring in Alfred Molina, and you're just like, he's because they're introducing the multiverse, and then you're like, here's Otto Octavius in this universe, and it's the same actor. So
it could be. I guess we'll see.
We already had a contract with him, so it's all good.
It is quite clear though that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are not clones of what's his name. It's quite clear they all look quite different.
Clones can look different. These are comics. That happens all the time.
Anyway, so she has the second child, and Vision goes to take the doctor outside and is like, "Hey, sorry, this screwed up your vacation." And the doctor's like, I probably was going to go on vacation anyway. You know how it is, these small towns, they're so hard to escape.
Yes, and he gets all weird about it. Like, he doesn't say it like, "Oh, small towns are hard to escape." He's like, "You understand small towns? They're very hard to escape."
He
He's
like
like,
puts like
and Vision knows something's weird.
it's really weird. And then he sees that Agnes is next door with Herb, and they are deeply concerned about Geraldine being in the house. And
Yes.
they're acting super fucking weird. And Herb especially is like acting like unbelievably weird and wants to say things to Vision that Agnes does not want him to say.
They say to him, they're like, "Don't you think Geraldine's kind of different, kind of strange?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And Herb says, "Vision, where does she live?"
Well, yeah,
And then it cuts
says she has no family, she has no husband, and Vision's like, well, no big deal, like, she's new to town, and says she has no home. And then we cut inside, and as Geraldine is talking to Wanda about the twins, Wanda says, I'm a twin. I had a brother. His name was Pietro. And
her Sokovian accent comes out when she says that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she actually sings to them in Sokovian.
Yes. Yeah.
Or what I assume is Sokovian. I don't know that language, but it was certainly not English.
I imagine it is some kind of, if they did not make up a language, it's an Eastern European language that would be fine. Like, yeah, this is what they speak in, it's Slavic or something like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, Geraldine breaks again, and she's like, Pietro, he was killed by Ultron. And Wanda is really unhappy to hear this, because quite clearly we are inside a world where Wanda is creating safety and comfort so that she doesn't have to think about these traumatic events. And Wanda starts coming at Geraldine in a big way, and then notices that she has the sword pendant around her neck and demands to know, like, who are you? What do you want? What is going on here? And when the Vision comes into the house, Wanda tells him up. Geraldine's gone. She had to rush home.
Yes.
And
then it goes to widescreen.
It pulls out into widescreen.
4:3. It pulls out into widescreen. And we see Geraldine get thrown out of Westview.
Yeah, we see the Westview welcome to Westview sign. It says home is what you make it, or something like that. Is that what it says?
Home is where you make it.
Home is where you make it. And we see there's like a bunch of like lights that are set up in this perimeter, and there's like a shimmering field, and Geraldine comes flying out of the shimmering field, lands in grass. She is terribly stunned, and as she lands, all of these vehicles advance on her, and helicopters come down, black vans, guys with guns come out, and we kind of pull out and see the entire thing and realize that Westview
there's some kind of field around the town.
Yeah. And that's when we cut to commercial, to credits.
Yes. To the Monkees.
To the Monkees, Daydream Believer, the most on the nose music choice yet.
Was it Daydream? No, it was Sleepy Jean.
It's Daydream Believer. Dear old Sleepy Jean, what could it mean? You're just a daydream believer and a homecoming queen.
Oh, yeah.
There is no song called Sleepy Jean. It's a lyric in Daydream. You don't know when March is, and you don't know the name of Daydream Believer.
No, I do. I don't know what I'm thinking.
I think everybody should know that Derek is recording at like midnight his time. So I think that's.
I think also everyone should know that I'm a huge Monkees fan. So that's also like, I might have to go to a doctor. Something's very wrong. It has been a very long. I woke up at like 5:30 this morning. I couldn't get back to sleep.
Oh, that's no good
for me.
That's
my
no
whole
good.
brain off. Like, I put on Spider-Man 2 with the idea of like, I'm going to nap and watch Spider-Man 2, and then I just watched the entire thing. And
all right, so you did not like the first two episodes. I'm curious, did you like this one?
Before we get into that, there are other things in the episode that I think were interesting.
Okay.
Like, I brought up before on Twitter, someone had mentioned that Herb might be named after Herbie from Fantastic Four. I have a different
way. Yeah.
My theory is that he's named after Herb Trimpe, the co-creator of Doc Samson, therapist to the superheroes. That's my theory on that. But we'll see.
He Doc might Samson just be deleted, by the way. There's a deleted Doc Samson scene.
Oh, is there? Yeah. From the show?
No, from fucking the Hulk. There's a whole lengthy deleted scene.
Oh, is there really? Okay, well there you go. Okay, so
I mean, he's in the movie anyway. I mean, like he's in the movie in general, but there's like a
but they don't
very
really
delete. What was that?
they don't count that movie really,
They
right? The Hulk
100%
movie.
count that movie.
Do
It's
they?
counts. Yeah.
Because they really pay no attention to it. Although I guess what's his name's coming back, isn't he? The abomination. What?
This is really doing a podcast with my grandfather.
Abomination. Abomination is coming back.
The abomination. The abomination.
I'm so very tired. I'm so tired. Oh.
The abomination is indeed coming back, and yes, the movie is canon. And Doc Samson's in it, and there's like a lengthy scene. I can't remember what the deleted scene is, but there's like a lengthy deleted scene that, like, I feel like points to him getting powers, but I can't remember.
Okay, I haven't watched that movie in quite a long time.
I haven't watched it forever, and I haven't watched the deleted scenes in forever.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I'm probably wrong about that. But also,
maybe they're bringing Ty Burr in. Who knows? Maybe they're bringing in Ty Burr. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah. Modern Family's over. Why not? Vision's car is red and yellow. It's Iron Man's colors, which I thought was interesting. But we'll see if that actually means anything, or if it's just because it's the 70s and that's what things looked like back then.
I would say that it means something. I would say every choice in this episode means something.
Probably. You know.
All right. Well, so did you like it or what?
I did. I thought this was a good episode. I feel like this episode was a good mix of sitcom stuff and pushing the story forward. I think they did it really well in this one. I feel like they broke something that you liked in the last two episodes, where there are effects in this episode that aren't possible for the time frame, for the time when it was made.
Like what?
The butterflies. You couldn't pull that off.
Oh yeah, no, but I think that's because it's not happening within the world of the show.
And
that's the thing. It's not happening. It's not happening within the world of the sitcom.
Yeah. But they kind of mix with that a little bit, because when she starts going into contractions and the house starts going crazy, it's in that kind of effects.
Right. Well, she's having a sitcom birth. She's having a sitcom birth, but when she changes the butterflies into real butterflies, that's not a part of the sitcom episode. That is her powers actually legitimately out of her control.
But it's played as part of the sitcom, because then the butterfly lands on Vision, and he's like, "Oh, gee," and she's got to go get it off of him.
Well, I think that's because she's in control of everything. So even though that moment happens, and it happens out of her control because the fluttering makes that happen, I suspect that I think this is supposed to be like a thing that's happening. She then controls, because the Vision also says things that she doesn't like, and she's able to control it back.
I mean, we've seen her rewind things.
Right. She's obviously the showrunner, right? That's the thing. She's the showrunner.
Yeah. Which I'm so confused by all of this.
And she's also obviously basically commandeered the town of Westview, is what it seems like to me.
I guess so. I guess my theory about it being Plainville is completely wrong.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's not what it is, from the sounds of it. It seems like she has taken over Westfield, and they're trying to send people in, right? Westview, and they're trying to send people in. They try to send in Geraldine. I guess it's questionable. Is Agnes... Has she been sent in, or is she something different? Because we still haven't found out her thing. And Herb seems to know things are off, but it's not clear if he's from the outside. Like, it seems like when you go in, I'm guessing from what we saw with Geraldine, when you enter, your mind starts to replace everything with what she wants it to be.
Right. Because remember, last episode, Geraldine at one point says, I don't know why I'm here. And it's played off as a joke. But,
yeah.
You know.
And didn't seem to know what her name was,
right?
As well, when she's asked what her name is, and she has to think about it for a moment.
Yeah, so I would guess that you walk through that barrier and you become part of the sitcom.
Yeah.
So the question then, like as you say, is that are these other neighbors people that live in Westview? Are they people that came in through Sword and have become part of the sitcom and have just been there for so long they're just in it? It does seem like Herb is trying to protect Wanda.
Yeah, he seems to know stuff that's up.
He knows something's wrong, and he wants to protect Wanda. He doesn't know how to tell Vision without breaking the spell. That seems to be what's happening.
Yeah. Now, is Vision real?
He can't be.
Right? That's he's dead, right? I mean,
He is dead, and Kevin Feige has said that the MCU will have no resurrections.
well, we'll see about that.
Well, the thing is that this wouldn't be a resurrection. If she creates a new vision with
Yeah.
her, the same way that she created two children, right? I mean, then
Yeah.
you don't have to have a resurrection. It's not technically a resurrection.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what. Yeah. And I mean, because right now, like in the show, he has the mind gem in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, which that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't fit. And that my theory is that he's not even there. That he's a part of her consciousness that is just kind of moving about.
I would
You know.
actually argue that she created him, and he represents the part of her consciousness that knows that this is wrong.
Yes.
That's why a
That's
number of times now he has been the one that's like, huh, this is weird. I think that was what he represents. He is that part of her consciousness that stands up and says, this is not right. There's something, you're not doing the right thing here. This is not correct. Because the things that when Wanda takes care of Geraldine in this episode, she's like scary. Like she's like dark. And it's pretty interesting, she says to her, you need to leave. And it like the way that she says it is like,
yeah.
big wishing you into the cornfield energy. And, it is something else. And I think that the vision is going to represent the part of her that knows that this is wrong, that she is playing with people's lives and that she's doing this thing. Now, so who is Agnes? Is Agnes somebody who has been drawn to this and is trying to do something? I don't know, but I suspect that this is all Wanda.
Well, I mean, Agnes stops her from telling Vision what's happening.
Right.
With Geraldine. So she knows some stuff as well. And then she rings her little bell on her bike, which I laughed at. I thought that was very funny. But so she knows some stuff is up. And I think that's interesting.
I think that she
guess
knows everything. I think that she is the character who knows everything.
Yeah. I mean, we both think she's Agatha Harkness.
Right.
So who was the one that trained Wanda to be a wizard or witch in the comics. And then she also played a big part in Tom King's Vision miniseries.
She has been called the villain in this piece. I'm very curious about that because Agatha Harkness is not always a villain. So it's an interesting descriptor that's been going around the old internet.
I'd say I had not seen that, so I had not come across that. She's definitely, she in the comics she's not really a villain. She's kind of back and forth, right? Like sometimes, like she, even when she's evil, it's like she's not evil. She just has her own plan, her own purpose of what she wants to do, and maybe it doesn't fit perfectly with what the Avengers want. But she's not like I'm going to rule the universe or anything like that.
I mean, so it's like very complicated because she was originally, I mean, this is not one of those ones where I don't have all the information, so I'm not going to be able to tell you everything because I don't remember every piece of it. But she was originally Franklin Richards' nanny.
Yes.
That's how she was introduced. And then it turned out that she was a witch. There was like an issue where the Frightful Four came to get Franklin and she like kicked their asses. And then she had to tell the Fantastic Four that she was a witch. She has so the interesting thing is that the character has a bunny named Senor Scratchy.
Yes.
Agatha Harkness is a son named Nicholas Scratch. He's a bad guy. So it's hard to.
She had a cat. In the comic, she has a cat
called Ebony. Yeah. So it's hard to know. Agatha's been alive and dead. She's like had a lot of stuff. She's been heavily involved with all this Mephisto baby shit in the comics. But traditionally, she's not been like a super duper villain. Nicholas Scratch has been a villain. He's fought Hellcat. But I don't know. I'm not really sure where they're taking it. Now, it makes me wonder whether or not they're going to bring Mephisto out of this.
There's been theories and rumors that Mephisto is the bad guy for Multiverse of Madness, which would make some sense since that's a good choice for Doctor Strange. But and this is supposed to lead right into Multiverse of Madness at some point, so who knows?
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know who I would make the villain of Multiverse of Madness. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't had Nightmare in the Doctor Strange movies yet. I mean, I really was surprised he wasn't the first guy out the gate, frankly.
I think he'd be too much for the first one. Is
See, I
probably what
think
they're.
Dormammu is a lot for the first one. Dormammu is
But
he's like Doctor Strange's
but
main villain.
he's the main villain, but he's only brought in at the end, and it's like you get a hint of him. You don't. He's not he's not the villain of the movie. I would say, right? I mean, what's his face is the villain. The other guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Mads. I forget the character's
Yeah,
name. He's a newer character.
whatever.
Um,
Yeah, and then they set up Baron Mordo
right,
right
as
in
the
it as
sequel guy,
well. But
which I guess is not
yeah,
going to
but
be
I
the
think
case.
maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, the Marvel movies definitely they're hard to track what their plans are,
Right.
because they are so forward thinking in so many ways. Of like, we've got 7 different Doctor Strange movies thought up, like, so who knows where they're going to go with it.
The thing that's interesting is they bring Mephisto in is that they didn't use Mephisto in the first 3 phases, and they used Loki in the Mephisto role with Thanos. In the comics, Mephisto is like Thanos's little like giggling henchman guy, and they use
Yeah,
Loki for that in the first couple of phases of the MCU.
yeah.
So if they brought Mephisto in now, I don't know what his larger role would be.
Oh my God, he's going to erase Spider-Man.
He
It's
might.
one more day.
That is one more day with Spider-Man. In this terrible comic book story, Marvel decided they had married off Spider-Man back in 1986. And 20, 30 years later, they decided they were sick of telling married Spider-Man stories. It was ruining Spider-Man. They wanted to get rid of Mary Jane as his wife, but they didn't want to have a divorced Spider-Man either. They didn't want to have divorced dad Spider-Man. So what they did is they had Aunt May dying, and Peter Parker made a deal with Mephisto, who is the Marvel Universe devil, to erase his marriage in exchange for saving Aunt May's life.
Yeah, that was
Truly
really
one of the worst storylines anybody's ever done. And considering some of the bad Spider-Man storylines, including one where he became a spider person and bit a guy's head off, including one where it was revealed that Norman Osborn. Well, Norman Osborn had a child with Gwen Stacy.
Norman Osborn had a child with Gwen Stacy. That Peter actually got his powers from the spider gods at one point, and they were like, "Nah, that didn't happen."
And there's the Clone Saga. I mean, considering that how terrible those are, the fact that One More Day might be the worst Spider-Man storyline is really pretty staggering.
I think One More Day, I think, is the worst one because it's so obvious. The way you handle that problem is they just get divorced. That fits Spider-Man.
But
That's
they
not a
didn't want
problem.
him to be a divorced guy. They wanted him to be like a forever 25-year-old single guy. That's what they wanted to get him back to. They didn't want to have the heaviness of divorce over it.
Yeah, which is stupid because that's how Spider-Man works best.
I don't disagree.
Stuff like that. So that was dumb.
All right. So you like this one? Then you're coming around on this show.
Yeah, I like this one. I like it. I'm sad that they're moving into the 80s already, because I think that there's, even before the Monkees played at the end of the episode, I was like, oh, it's too bad we didn't get like a Monkees feeling episode where it's like real wacky, like real, like cut into like fast forward stuff and like all that kind of stuff. But now they're moving into the 80s with the next episode, so that's out. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's gonna be Roseanne next episode. I'm pretty sure, right?
I don't think the images I've seen, I got much more of a like 8 is enough kind of feel to it.
Really?
Of like because like it's Agnes is wearing workout clothes, and like it seemed much more, or maybe like growing pains. Maybe
The
like
image that I saw, their kitchen looked like Roseanne's kitchen.
Did it? Okay. The image I saw was Agnes in like 80s, typical 80s workout outfit, with the leggings and like all that kind of stuff. And I get, from the feeling I got, was like a very Growing Pains, Family Ties kind of feel to it.
I guess we'll find out in a couple of days.
Is too real, isn't it? Like, I would think Roseanne would be. And also, wasn't Roseanne in the 90s?
Oh, was Roseanne in the 90s? I thought it was late 80s. It could be. I mean, I think that one of the things that might be happening as the show goes on is the sitcoms themselves become more real.
I guess.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it gets like, do we end up with a Seinfeld episode?
Would be
amazing, wouldn't it?
If Vision is Kramer, that would be wonderful.
That would be pretty incredible.
Instead of the door flying open, he just keeps floating through it.
That'd be really great. All right. I think this episode has gone long enough. Derek, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me on Twitter at @WH_Woolhat.
If you have enjoyed the two of us,
that's how much of a Monkees fan I am. Is my name on Twitter comes from the Monkees.
There you go. And yet you didn't know the title of
And
the song, Daydream Believer.
I'm so tired. I'm so very tired.
If you enjoyed listening to the two of us banter about this, you might enjoy listening to the two of us banter about Star Wars. We do a weekly Star Wars TV show podcast. When there's new Star Wars shows like The Mandalorian, we do that week by week. But right now, what we're doing in the off season is we're going through Star Wars Rebels, a really excellent animated show set right before the events of the original Star Wars film. We have about 40 something episodes on that. In the can. We've done the final season of Star Wars Clone Wars. We've done the first 2 seasons of Star Wars Rebels. We're finishing up the second season of Rebels. And we did the first season of The Mandalorian. All of those episodes are available if you become a patron at my... What?
We did the second season of The Mandalorian.
The second season of The Mandalorian. You're correct. That was the second season of the show. You were right. You're not the only one with brain fog.
Who's the brainless one now? I got one thing right. Win.
You're right. We did just do the second season. All of these episodes are now available at my Patreon, which is www.patreon.com/cinemasangha. That's the word cinema, and sangha, Sangha. That is a Buddhist term for community. Cinema Sangha is a Patreon that I run where I write about pop culture through a spiritual lens. I'm not like a real weird dick about it or anything like that. If you go there, there's a lot of different levels of membership you can get different kinds of content. But for just $1 a month, you will be able to listen to episodes of The Bad Batch. And I want to thank all of my patrons who make this show possible, just the hosting and all the other fees that come along with doing a podcast on the main platforms. Their patronage allows this to happen, and I really appreciate them. And if you wanted to check it out, please do come by www.patreon.com/cinemasangha. And in the meantime, until next week, I don't have like a good sign out. Like with the Bad Batch, I get to say, "May the Force be with you." That just makes sense. But like, what's the good sign out for the Marvel show?
I mean, the one everyone would use is Excelsior, which is boring.
But like, that's why I don't want to say it, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Like, is there a Marvel Marching Society sign up? Oh, no. I was gonna say like it's clobbering time, maybe, but
that's like for the opening of the show. You might say it's clobbering time. That's not good for the finale. I mean, Excelsior is the one, right? But like, who wants to fucking say that?
It's so overused.
It's played out.
I can't think of like Avengers Assemble would be the opening, right?
Well, listen, you know what? Here's the thing. In the meantime, we'll try to figure out what a good outro for the show is. But in the meantime, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe. We'll see you again next week, true believers.
Oh, there you go. May you be marvelous.